She's a yoga instructor, a mental health counselor, and crisis responder for Kitsap County. And I met her years ago working up at Alpental. Welcome to the show, Andrea Baker. Have you been up at all this season
One
yet,
time.
or one
Yeah, I
time?
went on Saturday with Adam and we went to Hayak and it was deep and so much fun.
Oh man,
And it was the kind of snow that like if you let off that back leg, you were
yeah,
going down. And there was a couple times where
that's
I
fun.
was cruising and just got a little tired and was like, I was like,
Yeah,
oh, I forgot. But that was like,
you just buried the nose, and
yeah.
that was it. Oh man.
So, but
So
we had a good, really good time.
were you guys boarding? I would imagine, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we still snow skate a lot. And I just like being able to do all of it. You know, there's something about snowboarding where I can go fast and get air. And I've been doing it for, oh my gosh, a really long time. Let's not date me, but, over 20 years and
Right.
really comfortably. And then snow skating's fun. I just don't feel as proficient in powder, heavy, wet, already ridden powder.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
definitely not the same. It's just different.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Cool. So yoga and snowboarding, snow skating. How do you how do you feel that yoga affects your riding, or vice versa? I guess not vice versa, but
Well, no, I mean, I think it is vice versa. I think what I've really enjoyed about yoga has been the movement from just strengthening these very specific large muscle groups to the smaller micro, areas that don't really get attention in our typical workouts. And my balance and strength and comfort is so much stronger. The other part is I think I have so much more control over my nervous system. So being able to
gotcha.
stay calm, regulate my breathing, stay clear headed, that's really nice.
Yeah, that's
But the
essentials.
balance side of things, like I was surprised at how strong I felt going out for day one. And I was like, yeah, this is definitely because I'm doing these very fine muscle movements and holding postures and breathing through them. And I didn't tucker out like I would have every year prior. I probably would not have lasted as long as I lasted. And I wouldn't say I lasted a super long time, but I remember days, I don't know, opening day at Alpental, like 3 runs and you're done.
Right.
Right. Yeah. That doesn't feel that way so much anymore. So
That's awesome. So you
yeah,
get longer days.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
more time on the board. That's awesome.
exactly. It's really helpful with split boarding too.
You do a
Because
lot of split boarding as well?
that's mostly what Adam and I have been doing the last 3 years. He has Saturday off, and we just head up to Blewett Pass, and we go out there. It's a 3-hour approach, and then once we hit the line that we like to be at, we'll circle that a couple times. He can
Cool.
go for a really long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like round 3, and I'm like, okay.
Oh
But
man.
yeah, it's fun.
Do you have a routine that you start your day with, or do you feel like starting your day with yoga helps you prepare for the rest of the day to come, or
Absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. I get up at 4 a.m. and I usually have some coffee and meditate. Not for a really long time, 15 minutes, 20 minutes maybe. And then I usually head out to yoga or some sort of, workout class. Sometimes I go do spin or swim. And I notice I get really scratchy if I don't do those things. So
Mm,
it definitely at some point during that day, I'm grumpy about things that I'm not normally grumpy about if I haven't gotten those things in. So
nice.
I really try to preserve that time. It's really sacred and special to me. And I also think that life is a lot more challenging than we give it credit for. So creating a good energy before you go and embark upon that day just helps.
That is that's I something that I need to I need to start to apply some of that. It's very hard to get motivated. I'm a very routine oriented guy.
Yeah.
Um, and I set a series of alarms because, and then I get used to that series of alarms. So I'm like, okay, I can wait until this one, but I'm awake, So I think that can you point could you point a guy like me into a good reference for a start of day routine?
Well, first of all, I'm going to let you know that hitting the snooze button is like the worst thing you could ever do. Once you wake up, if you go back to sleep, your body isn't like, oh, I'm just going to kind of nap. It resets your whole sleep cycle, which is why you feel drowsy and groggy. So snooze is like a bad thing. Just get rid of it. Throw your phone in a different room if you must, so that you actually get up when the alarm goes off and start your day.
Fair
That's a
enough. That's
great
this.
start. And I always try to find sacred space, whether it's 10 minutes just sipping your coffee and being just with you, or even just spending quality time with the family. Sometimes, if I really just don't feel like meditating, I work on a puzzle, or I'll read a book, or just something, or I'll just sit with the cats and pet them. But
Yeah.
just create that peaceful place for even 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be forever.
How do people join your class, and where do they find you, and when is it?
So I've been lucky enough to teach at Sukasa Yoga in Clallam. I feel super fortunate to be working with the caliber of people that are there. There's some incredible yoga instructors that have been teaching for a really long time. I get the Monday morning at 6 a.m. slot. I'm regularly participate. I have like 1 to 2 people that want to get up at, 5 a.m. to come to a 6 a.m. on a Monday, which I get. And I really try to make my class all about kind of greeting the week. So it's not extraordinarily rigorous. It's much more about kind of coming out of the weekend and getting ready for the week. I started teaching actually at my agency that I work for, where I provide mental health treatment. I did like a 9-week beginner yoga to our clients, and it was so awesome teaching people that have never been on the mat before.
Yeah.
That's, I think, kind of where my passion lies. Like, I really
Okay.
enjoy getting people into connecting with their body, connecting with their spirit, and moving. So much of what we struggle with in our modern society is that we look at the mind and the body as being these separate entities, and they're not. They're intimately connected. And so through yoga, we get to bring those two things communicating better together.
Is that something that you want to continue to offer?
100%. It's the sole reason that I actually started working on my training. I love doing cognitive work and working with people's thinking styles. However, we really know that a lot of change with how we feel is based on our behavior.
Mm.
So we miss the mark a lot of the times when we're just talking about, well, think about something differently. How about let's do something differently? And once again, I work with usually people that have PTSD, lots of trauma, that kind of thing. So their
Gotcha.
disconnect between their mind and their body is pretty significant. So the movement and yoga's asanas and postures, breathing, the connection between the mind and the body, it is really profound. The research is kind of unbelievable at its capacity to heal trauma,
I
because
believe
trauma
it.
really is a nervous system disorder, and yoga is all about that. It's all about healing the nervous system. So it's
And
really cool.
looking within as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
So
So so multifaceted. There's 8 limbs of yoga, and asanas are the postures.
okay.
That's just one of them. So
There's 8 of them.
there's 8. So I mean, yoga's this really big, cool thing, and so I try to incorporate as much kind of meditation and sound and movement and stillness into my classes to get all the benefits, and it's really fun. And I get to then, I've actually treated someone and done yoga with them at the same time, and I was really like kind of taken aback with how the yoga, I think, really helped them.
That's awesome.
They said
It's
it helped them too. So,
well, and you're
there's some
able to,
science.
yeah, I mean, you're able to see it firsthand.
Yeah.
That's that's awesome. The power.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Super inspiring.
What do you feel the importance of, say, the heart to the crown chakras are, as opposed to on down?
You know, honestly, Drew, I've never thought about separating them in that way. To me, all really chakras is energy. And if there is energy that's not flowing properly in any one of them, you're going to end up with imbalances.
Gotcha.
So, the lower chakras are often associated with grounding, feeling connected and stable and calm, whereas the higher chakras tend to be, I think, more associated with higher order functioning as communicating, thinking, connecting with others. I mean, our crown chakra is enlightenment, you know, our true connection to spirit, God,
Intuition.
universal connection, whatever it might be.
Right.
I don't think any one of them is more important than the other. And quite frankly, I think probably with a lot of my clients, the lower chakras are really where I'm spending a lot of my time. They're very, very unbalanced, and frozen and locked, and we want to get
Gotcha.
the juices flowing. So,
So it's not so much about separating these are better than this. This chakra is more important than this chakra.
no way.
It's the it's evening the scales.
Totally. And I think we're all going to, based on the different things that are happening in our lives, have different areas that are needing our attention. Last year spent a lot of time working in my lower chakras because I was feeling anxious and unsettled and I needed to get grounded. And so, I mean, I was working on diet that was roots and root vegetables and
Yeah.
warm, soothing soups and just trying to bring me settled so I didn't feel like I was going to fly like a top, you know, spinning around anymore. And then as that settled in, I was able to work on now I can communicate more effectively and those other things. Yeah, I don't know. I'm still really learning about so much of this stuff. I just think it's magical.
I love it. I love it. I especially liked seeing some of your meals pictures that you had posted. I'm like, that looks so good. It's inspiring. It's definitely something that I'm working on, that we're working on here at the
Yeah.
house. It's like we gotta figure it out. I mean, you can't sustain on some of this stuff. And
Oh my gosh, right? I mean, wholesome food is just way overrated, way underrated, and it takes time to make. And that's, I think, the challenge. I was talking with a girlfriend today, and she's got two little ones, and she's an amazing cook. Like, I'm a 5, she's in a 15. Yet trying to make a fresh meal every time is not going to happen. So I was like, double it up, make two everything. If you're
yeah,
going to do it, make a freezer meal, throw it in the freezer. So we a freezer stuffed
that's
full of things, and
that's
you could
great
go
advice.
out there and pull something out if you don't have time. And that's been helpful is taking the time to prep two versions of something so that when I don't have time, I'm not just grabbing a bag of chips. Still kind of like chips, but
Right,
I'm
right.
not subsisting on them.
So speaking of time, it's I think you had mentioned something like you were 48 hours on a call or something
Oh,
when we
yeah,
talked
when
last.
we do call, when we take on call, we're usually on for 48 hours. So,
Oh, gotcha.
um, and it just means that at any time during that time, you could need to drop everything and
Oh,
go. And
uh,
sometimes you might be busy the whole time.
gotcha. Yeah. So when I read that, I was like, whoa, that's a long call. that
Yeah,
that person must have really needed
it's
some talking
it's
down
multiple
to.
people. In the 48 hours, I probably saw 5 or 6 different people. So yeah, but some of those contacts take several hours
Right.
to wade through. If I'm looking at placing somebody in a psychiatric facility, those are generally 4 to 8 hour long contacts.
Wow.
So you're just at the ER working it.
And that's
And
yeah.
if that's what it takes, that's what it takes.
working. You're using your skills for the good, Dre. I
I
love it.
love it, Drew. I think that we all have a purpose on this planet, probably multiple, and figuring out what it is that you do to contribute to the betterment of mankind is important, and all of it matters. It doesn't matter if you're doing being a therapist or, you know, operating a dump truck. Do it the best you can, and you're making this world a better place. So I really believe that, and I know I'm called to do this work. And so when the call comes, I pick up the phone and put my pants on and show up.
That's awesome. So you deal a lot with mental health. What are a few warning signs or patterns that might be easily identified so you could kind of help your loved ones?
Absolutely. I think a lot of the area that I teach about is usually around suicide, that level of things. And so I think of some warning signs that are pretty big for that. And I also can think of some warning signs that someone's just really maybe needing some additional support. So when it comes to needing some additional support, I would say hearing your friends talking like they're hopeless or they just don't know what to do, that life doesn't make sense anymore, that sort of just like, I can't even put two and two together. I would definitely be saying, hey, why don't you talk to a professional, to help you iron these things out. What I think about too is your friends functioning worse than it normally is? Are they not making it to work? Are they not hanging out anymore? Are they overusing substances? Are they avoiding your phone calls? Those sorts of things let me know that someone's having a rough time, and I'm going to do what I can to, reach out to them and show up. When it comes to suicide, the things I look for are obviously hopelessness, again, talk of death or dying or giving up, drastic changes in behavior. So if they normally are, well put together and they're showing up super disheveled, or the opposite. If they typically could care less about their appearance and all of a sudden they're for no reason all put together, oftentimes we're like, oh, they've got that figured out. And that might actually mean they've gotten something else figured out, and
Right.
it's not how to live, it's how to die. And
Right.
there's a sense of relief that comes with that. Obviously, any talk of suicide, I tell everyone, you do not handle that yourself. You hand that off to a professional. And even though I'm a professional, if I have a friend that's talking about suicide, I am not going to try to provide, I'm the friend, I'm not their
Right.
therapist.
Right.
So there's 24-hour crisis lines in every county. So you can Google it and find your local county's crisis line and talk to a person. And they can either guide you on the next steps or they'll send someone out to talk to the person. And that's what I do when I'm on call is I'll go meet with someone who a friend called in and they were really worried about, and I'll go talk to them. And it doesn't always end up being a bad thing. Sometimes it's just a matter of making sure they're safe for the night, and then we work on getting them counseling.
Nice. Nice.
And rarely, but sometimes it does mean going to more drastic measures to ensure they're safe. And I will be very honest, that is not the common outcome. I
Okay.
think a lot of people are afraid that's what's going to happen, but we go to the ends of the earth to keep people from psychiatric facilities because the truth of the matter is there's not a lot of great research that suggests that a psych facility reduces suicide. It can help with like medication or some
Yeah.
other things. It's just not a therapeutic intervention in that regard. So I'd rather keep somebody outpatient and talk to them every day for the next week and teach them skills than the
Yeah.
alternative.
Get them doing breathing exercises.
You got it. Day one. It's like the number one skill.
Yeah. Yeah.
Belly breathing.
What are things that parents can avoid doing?
Okay. Well, I think that it's much more effective to talk about what we can do because it's really
Okay.
easy to say, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, but I need an alternative, right?
Right.
Like, don't smoke that cigarette. But what do I do instead? So let's talk about what we
Exactly.
can do. I
Okay.
think the most important thing that parents can do is honor that their children are unique,
Mm,
and that, that's a totally okay. As
right.
long as they're following some of the basic fundamental rules of the house, let's let kids be themselves. Kids are so authentic when they come out of the womb. And then we tell them they need to be different, and it's very confusing for them. So, the word that comes to mind for me is validation. Recognize the validity in their experience. So, if they're saying, I am heartbroken, don't tell them they're not. Say, sounds like you're heartbroken. How can I help you? If they say, you're being mean to me, you can say, you sound upset. How can I help you? So, validation is about recognizing the inherent truth in an individual's existence and not denying their truth. And you also don't need to validate the invalid. So you don't have to say, yeah, you're right, I was being mean. You can just say, it appears that you're very upset about what I said. And there's something about that. It's recognizing their experience that I think is amazing. And I think when we validate, we give permission for people to blossom and be themselves and not try to be somebody they're not.
Wow. That is very powerful. Wow, Dre. That is very powerful. It's definitely something to think about.
It
Um,
is. I think so often we have these shoulds, and like we tell people that this is how life is supposed to look. Who said? Whose rules are these? Like, okay, are you genuinely pretty respectful to me and follow the rules and take care of the basics? Awesome. Do I need you to dress a certain way to be a valuable person? No, absolutely not. And we get stuck on some of these things that are just like antiquated notions that are handed down from, I don't know, generations ago. And the mental health of our parents, I think, is a perfect reflection of how ineffective that is. So let's move on.
yeah.
We started this with the hippies in the 70s. They were like, we're done living by this, white picket fence, and let's keep moving. We're going in the right direction.
Yeah. I kind of give my daughter a little bit of crap about holes in jeans or
Ugh,
holes in pants. So, but hey, she was wearing some today. So
Mia, you stick them in your backpack and just take them to school and change when you get there.
no, I mean I just josh her. I don't think I'm damaging her, but she
No,
doesn't
no,
like
I think
she's
giving them a hard time is totally, in good fun is awesome.
yeah.
But I think, like, for instance, my mom refused to let me wear this one pair of 501s that I adored. And I wasn't rude with them. They had holes, and I wore stretch pants underneath. Oh, I would just sneak them to school. I just kept them at school. Like, why did we fight over that? You know
I
what I
know.
mean? Like,
I know.
what wasted energy? They're pants. I'm wearing pants at least.
You really have to pick your battles with your kids.
Right? Yeah, yeah,
That's what I'm finding. Uh,
exactly.
yeah.
And the truth of the matter is kids are a lot smarter than we give them credit for. So smart. I am blown out of the water all the time, whether it's an 8-year old or a 15-year-old. The stuff they say, I'm like, you're right. And they're like, and when they do that, I see that they've been told they're wrong for so long that they don't even believe in themselves anymore. And we want them to be wise. We kind of want them to stand up for themselves. We want our women to say no, really. Because if you tell a young woman, oh, you can never say no, now we're set up for problems. Because
I
if somebody comes along and says, I want you to do this, and they haven't
yeah.
learned no,
Yeah. I think men and women, honestly, and
oh,
it's not always the that sort of a situation, but I think no is like one of the most powerful tools we have, and I think that we're really trained not to use it, and it's very
are you
sad.
asking a question? Because if you're asking a question, I have the right to say no. Now, if you're giving me a direction, that's a little different. But if my boss says, do you want to do this or this? I'm going to say no to the thing I don't want to do. But if she says do it, okay, I'll do it. That's a direction. But that's a
Well, hey,
question. All right.
yeah, well, on that note, Dre, this has been a lot of fun. Thanks for coming
Yeah.
on AquaBrain.
Thank you for having me.
Please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell so you know when we put new videos out. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Brain Aqua. This has been AquaBrain TV. Remember to keep your head up and keep those knees bent.